Pink Tomato Kitchen. This is Kate Campbell. Thanks for joining us. Today we are kicking off our tomato sauce series because we are the Pink Tomato. So I want to focus on all the different ways I make tomato sauce. So today we are gonna be actually making some meatballs with beef and mortadella and a Pantry Pomodoro. Okay, let's talk about Pantry Pomodoro. Basically, I always have this stuff on hand in my pantry, so at the drop of a dime, if I need to make a quick tomato sauce for anyone who may come over, my kids are hungry, we just got back from vacation, we don't have anything in the pantry, Pantry Pomodoro. So you start with these beautiful crushed San Marzano tomatoes, a really good olive oil. I actually love to use the Global Gardens basil because it's flavored with basil. If I don't have any fresh basil, it'll still give me that punch with the tomato garlic basil that we all love so much, and a great red sauce. And then I do have fresh garlic here today, but you could also use jarred in your pantry. And I also do have fresh basil. So keep in mind, if you do have the fresh ingredients on hand, fresh is better, but have this stuff in your pantry for when you're in a pinch. And the other thing that's a key is really good tomato paste. So Muti, or actually Trader Joe's brand, makes a great San Marzano tomato paste. If you're wanting a little bit more richness or to thicken up the sauce, a little bit of this adds a lot of flavor. Okay, let's talk garlic. So the more you cook with me or watch me cook, watch the show, the more you'll realize I'm obsessed with this little baby, this mandolin. This is also an impressive hack. When you slice garlic like this, it looks so elegant. It's thin, it's it's not like a bitter, big, too thick bite of garlic. And I find that across the board with most vegetables, if you shave them thinly, it's an amazing experience across the board. So we're shaving garlic here today. And I'm just gonna go ahead and show you I've got it on the thinnest setting, and you just have to watch what you're doing. Don't go too fast, and if it gets too short, just go ahead and push it to the side. And then you just kind of keep going, and you've eventually got a nice little ramekin full of these little sliced garlic cloves. That is the sound. Do just a little shake of garlic salt. This is my secret weapon. Why have regular salt when you have garlic salt? And we're gonna let this hang out here on medium heat and get a little bit hot. Once it starts to sizzle, get those aromatics going, the garlic's flowing and making your house smell amazing, we'll dump in the tomatoes, so stay tuned. Now, I'm gonna get our oil and garlic and our San Marzano tomatoes all married together here. We're gonna kind of turn up the heat here. Let's call it a teaspoon. Okay, pantry pasta. So I'm gonna add some dried oregano and some dried Italian seasoning. And depending on how herbaceous you like things, you can adjust things. But I would say I'm gonna use about a tablespoon of dried oregano. I really like that herby flavor. And then this is an Italian seasoning that has some oregano in it. And keep in mind, we're also using basil infused oil. So this is gonna have really multiple levels of herb flavor. But you don't want it to overpower the tomato. So I would say a teaspoon of Italian seasoning. Keep stirring. Okay guys, I'm gonna try our Global Gardens basil olive oil. I just wanna get a read on how basil-y this is gonna be to see how much I actually wanna put in the sauce. So I'm just gonna taste it on a little cracker here. So good. Really full-bodied. You really want an olive oil that makes a statement in a sauce like this because it really pairs well with the tomato. But the basil isn't overpowering, but it's awesome. This is a great oil. Okay, let's talk about mortadella. Mortadella is awesome. It's basically like elevated bologna, which before you scroll over, hear me out. If you're familiar with charcuterie, which like who isn't these days, this one is often left off the board and it is so good. Like a good antipasto salad or an amazing mortadella sandwich is amazing. It's pork-based Italian style bologna, essentially marbled with some fat. It actually has little pieces of pistachio in it. It is amazing. And the best meatballs are blended, typically between different types of meat. So today we're using a high quality ground beef and some mortadella. So in order to get the consistency of a meatball, right, you want it to have that ground, even flavor, we're gonna actually pulse our mortadella in the food processor. So I actually went to the deli and just got this cut This is half a pound of mortadella cut in a 1/4 inch thick slice because you want it to have body. Typically, if I were to just buy like lunch meat, thin shaved mortadella and cut it up, it would create a weird consistency for the meatballs. So I'm gonna actually just cut these into some inch thick strips so I can fit them into my food processor. And I'm just gonna pulse it up so it creates a nice ground meat consistency. All right, so there we've got it. So now we have this beautiful mortadella that we've created into this nice ground texture similar to the ground beef. And it's a little finer too, which is great because it's fattier. So it's gonna add this nice marbly flavor to our meatballs. All right, let's get going on these meatballs. So I've got 1 pound of ground beef, half a pound of mortadella that we just pulsed in the food processor. I'm gonna go ahead and add that into my nice mixing bowl here. You wanna use a large mixing bowl because you wanna give yourself plenty of room to toss the meat. Don't do something in too small of a bowl. It makes it way harder. Make it easy on yourself. Okay, so I'm gonna I've got my meat here. I'm actually gonna kind of work this a little bit to get that evenly distributed before I even add anything. Give it a little toss. Okay, so in here I've got 1 egg that's beaten and some whole milk. I don't remember how much. I have to look. Pretend.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I've got 1 egg beaten, scrambled with a fork, and a 1/4 cup of whole milk that I'm gonna add in. Then in this bowl, I've got half a cup of grated Parmesan, a 1/4 cup of panko breadcrumb, and some Italian seasoning, oregano, and Italian seasoning, both about a teaspoon. If you are trying to cut back on carbs, you could substitute an additional 1/4 cup of Parmesan for those panko breadcrumbs. I just like that they make up the meatballs a little bit more light. I'm gonna add that in. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and get my hands dirty here and work this through. So I just wanna make sure that I'm gonna evenly work all of this dough, get it nice and it looks almost like Wagyu. It's marbly. You've got the nice flavorful fat from the mortadella in with our high quality beef. So by the way, using a high quality ground beef makes all the difference. My favorite is Snake River Farms that I can just get at my local supermarket. They're packed into 1 pound chubs. It's the best ground beef you can find. And if you can't, I would go with just whatever the highest end ground beef you can find. It makes all the difference. Okay guys, my meat mixture is ready. I'm gonna go ahead and roll these into golf ball size meatballs and bake them at 425 for about 20 minutes. Hey guys, our meatballs are rolled and ready to rock. So we're gonna put them in a 425-degree oven for 20 minutes until they're cooked through the middle, and then we're gonna pop them into our sauce.
Okay.
I'm gonna check on our sauce here, and I'm actually gonna use a whisk because I really want that oil to mix in with the tomatoes. So I'm actually just gonna whisk this, and you just wanna get all the crispy bits off the bottom so nothing is gonna taste burned. And keep in mind, we've brought this kind of to a rolling simmer, so it's bubbling. I'm gonna give it a taste. We'll do a little adjustment and see what it needs, and then we're just gonna turn it to simmer. Keep it warm, and once those meatballs are done, we're gonna pop them in the sauce. And this can really hang out on the stove as long or as little as you want it to. Okay guys, I'm gonna taste my sauce before I add in some tomato paste to really just richen and deepen that tomato flavor. Get my taster spoon here. So good. It all comes down to using a really good quality olive oil for a sauce like this. Really use a yummy olive oil. It doesn't have to be crazy expensive, but don't use a cheap one. I would say like higher the shelf, the better. I've got my tomato paste. I love the ones in the tube because you can put the top back on and just keep this right in the fridge. I'm gonna give it a little squeeze all around. I would call it a tablespoon. And I'm gonna whisk this in as well. Because I have the fresh basil, I'm actually just gonna take a handful of the leaves and just stick it right in my sauce once it's simmering, and it'll continue to infuse some of that really yummy fresh basil flavor. But you could also do this with just the dry basil if you only have pantry ingredients. So this is versatile, just keep that in mind. We are gonna cook pasta today with our meatballs and sauce because we're being bad, we're being classic, we're keeping it real. There's lots of other things you could do with this recipe aside from pasta, which we'll talk about. But right now I'm gonna boil my spaghetti number 2. Okay guys, so make sure that you salt your pasta water. You want it to be salty like the sea. In Italy, they call it ciappo, which means salty like the sea. So add your kosher salt. I've got about 1/4 cup in there for my whole pasta pot. And just make sure you use tongs to kind of work, make sure the noodles get fully submerged in the water, and then just let it cook according to what's on the back of your box. Okay, so they've been in for 20 minutes. Look at those. Hey guys, look at our beautiful meatballs. They've been in our 425-degree oven for about 20 minutes. They smell amazing. And we're gonna pop these little guys into our sauce. Stay tuned. Okay guys, we're plated with our Pantry Pomodoro and our Mortadella meatballs, and it's gonna be an amazing meal. So today I have it over some pasta, so we have to talk about burrata, the big finish. We've got our burrata here. So I'm gonna do a little dollop of this. For those of you who aren't familiar with burrata, you need to be familiar. It's amazing. It's just like butter and mozzarella had a baby. The best burrata is Di Stefano burrata, which you can get at El Rancho Market for sure. It's my favorite, comes in a little bag. We've got some here today, and I'm gonna take a little dollop because it's so delicate you can really use your fingers. So I'm just gonna take a little pinch and I'm gonna put it right here on top, and that little creaminess will meld in with our tomato sauce. It's gonna be a dream. I'm gonna do that over the top of the burrata. A little crack of pepper. Top it with a little basil. And there we go. There you have it. Pink tomato mortadella meatballs with Pantry Pomodoro. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Pink Tomato Kitchen. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We're gonna take a bite and we'll see you next time. Bye. The way to eat pasta is, long pasta, is with a fork and a spoon. So I'm gonna get a little bit in there. And I'm gonna cut my meatball in half so I can have the perfect bite with a little bit of everything. I'm gonna take a twirl. Bomb diggity. You gotta make this at home.